U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel. He is James Carafano, and Tennessee Congressman. He is Dr. Mark Green. He's on House Foreign Affairs and Armed Services. The good doctor was deployed to both Iraq and Afghanistan. First to you, Congressman, your reaction to the president today?
Well, thanks for having me on, Liz. I was blown away by, honestly, by the dishonesty of his comments. And he made it sound like the Afghans aren't fighting. They've been essentially the ground force in this war for several years. Thousands of them have died. It is dishonest to say that they don't want to fight. We abandoned them. That's the sense they have. In the middle of the night, we left Bagram Air Base without even notifying our ally, the Afghan military, that we were leaving. They just discovered an empty airfield, empty military. They felt abandoned. They lost the will to fight. It is not their fault. This is Joe Biden owns this.
D.C. insiders, Colonel, report shocked that the administration was surprised that the Taliban would capture the country this quickly, that the White House had no plan for that. Even though Biden announced the withdrawal 4 months ago, the Washington Post and Politico reporting Biden ignored the advice of his generals. We have U.S. soldiers and their families upset. They lost their lives and limbs in Afghanistan. What do you say, Colonel?
Well, I think the headline here is that Biden now has a political problem as well as a strategic problem. Okay, we have the failure in Afghanistan. We have to deal with that. But Biden just went on national television and said, none of this is my fault, and said a bunch of things which are patently not true, and all of which can be shown to be demonstrably false when people talk to the military and the intelligence community, and they look at the documents. And there's going to be a lot of time, because Biden now made it all about his decision. He said, I made the right decision. We're going to debate that now, and what they're going to find out is he lied to the American people. So it's a political disaster now and a strategic disaster.
You know, the president was vice president for 8 years. He was also in the Senate. This is a 20-year war, Congressman. The president is criticized for being out of Washington at Camp David. The White House press secretary on vacation. The UK prime minister called back Parliament from summer recess. You know, Congressman, let's listen to what Biden just said last month and what Senator Mitch McConnell had to say. President Biden said this would not be a second Saigon 1975, but it did happen. It is happening in Kabul. Watch this.
Do you see any parallels between this withdrawal and what happened in Vietnam with some people feeling?
None whatsoever. Zero.
Is a Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not. It is not inevitable.
I think there's a high likelihood that the Taliban will be back in control of the country, maybe as early as the end of the year. And I worry about the future of Afghan women and girls, and that we will end up in a situation much like we found ourselves in before. Not just me saying that. You may have read that both Hillary Clinton and Condi Rice, two former secretaries of state, have expressed the same concern.
What do you say, Congressman?
I say same leadership as in 2011, same failure as 2011. Joe Biden was then the vice president. They ripped out of Iraq. What happened was the emergence of ISIS. They were lopping people's heads off. Now they've just ripped us out of Afghanistan, and we're going to get the same thing. Terrorists are in control. They've got a safe haven now, a country of their own, and we're going to have, with an open southern border, it's just coming again. This is a failed presidency is what it is. Our president, our commander-in-chief has failed America again.
Got it. Okay, the former defense secretary, Colonel, he is Leon Panetta. He compares the fall of Afghanistan to the Bay of Pigs. He strongly recommended the president take responsibility, admit the mistakes. It seems that the president didn't do that. And Ryan Crocker, Obama's former ambassador, is saying it is insane, quote, it's insane, it's, quote, idiotic to think the Taliban is listening to threats from the president or Nancy Pelosi about, you know, don't do bad things or we'll come after you. The Taliban is doing what it wants right now. What do you say?
Well, look, the Bay of Pigs was a failure. The Cuban Missile Crisis was an intelligence failure. 9/11 was an intelligence failure. This was not. This was a president that made a bad decision. And this gets to the real red flag here. This is not the Jimmy Carter presidency. This is not a bunch of rookie mistakes in your first year. All of Biden's team are veterans of 8 years of Obama. These are well-seasoned guys who have been through Benghazi, Iraq, ISIS, Libya, the Red Line. They've had crisis after crisis. They failed on all of them, and they're back and they failed again. That should scare people.
We hear you. You know, Congressman, Nancy Pelosi is talking about the wisdom of what the president decided to do. We've got the Taliban leader claiming he spent 8 years in Guantanamo. The Taliban is now releasing prisoners from al-Qaeda and reportedly ISIS. What's the wisdom in that?
Well, there's no wisdom in this. Nancy Pelosi is just trying to cover for the president, who happens to be in her party. This is an abysmal failure, and it is going to put Americans at risk. No one is debating this.
We've got, leaders from the UK, Canada, Australia, dozens of countries around the world expressing disappointment and shock, Colonel. We've got more breaking news. OPEC and Russia told the Biden administration they will not pump more oil after the administration asked them to do that last week, after they, facing rising gas prices. Also this, Homeland Security and the Joint Chiefs of Staff chair, they are both warning about rising terror threats here in the U.S. We're about to approach the 20th anniversary of 9/11. What do you say to that?
Yeah, let's focus on the terrorism issue because we have two near-term transnational terrorist problems where we could see a resurgence of transnational terrorism. One is that Afghanistan is primed to once become a sanctuary for transnational terrorist activity. That's a problem. But also we have the narrative problem, which is the Taliban now own more territory than they did on 9/11. This is a great victory for them. This is a rallying cry to the Islamist terrorists worldwide to rise up and strike again. So you have global motivation to do attacks, and you potentially have a new base. These are two issues that put all the failures and stuff and the partisan bickering beside. Biden needs to jump on fighting those two issues. And as far as I can tell, they have no real counterterrorism plan except ordering the Department of Homeland Security to harass Trump supporters because they might support Trump.
Yeah, Congressman, what do you say to what James Carafano just said? I mean, people are saying either Joe Biden completely miscalculated, in which case he's incompetent, or he knew this would be the result and he didn't care. They tossed away 2 decades of work. We've got 4 administrations trying to deal with the graveyard of empires. We're talking 2 Democrat administrations, 2 Republican administrations. What are your thoughts about what James Carafano just said?
I think this issue with terrorism is real, but it's even worse now with what's happened in Afghanistan, coupled with our southern border. But this is the administration who, when they first got back in power, wants to renegotiate a failed deal with the Iranian regime. I mean, they seem to want to be friends with people who are our enemies. I mean, the Taliban is our enemy. And Biden is basically fine with just letting them take back over a country. I bet the next thing isn't going to be what James was talking about. They're not going to confront that. They're going to try to renegotiate the deal with Iran because they think that's what brings America safety. It's not. It's a strong, resolute.
Yeah, we hear you. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to talk over you. We also have Muslim leaders, we should point out, are expressing severe concern and shock over the brutalization by the Taliban of women and children there, and also the complete depravity of how they behave. Congressman Mark Green and Lieutenant Colonel James Carafano, thank you both so much for your service to our country. You'll come back soon. It's good to see you both.
God bless.
Thanks, Liz.